Hey everyone, welcome back to the Math Dive, and today we will be discussing multiplying polynomials. Without further ado, let's go. So let's talk about multiplying monomials first. So to multiply monomials, we first multiply the coefficients. So 3 and 6, we multiply those, and 3 times 6 is 18. Now this part's a little tricky. We multiply the variables attached to those. So for the variables, we have x squared and x, and we have to multiply x squared and x. So to multiply these, we need to know the exponent laws, and the exponent law states that two similar bases are present, and we are multiplying them. We also add up the exponents. So in this case, there's an invisible 1 right here. And what we do is add the 2 and 1 when we're multiplying the two x's. So this becomes x cubed. And we can fact check it. Here's another example of two monomials being multiplied. This might look a little scary, but once you break down the steps, pretty easy. So the first thing we want to do is multiply the coefficients. So we have minus 2 times 5. And while using the integer laws, we can find out that it's negative 10. And the next step is to multiply the variables. So we have a squared and a, and we know there's a hidden 1 here. So because they're the same bases, we add them up, and we're left with a cubed. And lastly, we have two b's, similar bases, so we add the exponents. And 4 plus 3 equals 7. So we have b to the power of 7. And this would be our final answer. We should also talk about distributive property. An equation that we can show distributive property would be something like this. All we do with distributive property is when there's a number like this in front of brackets with terms inside of the brackets, we multiply this number into all these terms within the brackets. So we're basically distributing it, hence the name. So 3 times 2x would be 6x, and 3 times minus 1 would be 3x minus 3. And this is just a simplified version of it, and the arrows are there just to show your work. And this would also be another example of distributive property would be something like this. And as we did before, we just multiply the 2 with the rest of the terms inside the brackets. So 2 times x would be 2x, and 2 times plus 3 would be plus 6. And as the simplified answer, this would be correct. We went over multiplying monomials with monomials and the distributive property, which is basically multiplying a monomial with a binomial. But what about multiplying binomials with binomials? We solve binomial multiplication with something called FOIL, which stands for first, outside, inside, last. What do I mean by foiling though? So foiling is basically the order of multiplication when we're dealing with binomials. So what we do is first we multiply these. Secondly, we multiply the outside numbers, which is in this case is x and 1. Then we multiply the inside numbers, which is 2 and x. And lastly, we multiply the last numbers, which are these. So what we have right now is x times x, which is x squared, x times positive 1, which is positive x, plus 2 times x, which is 2x, and plus 2 times 1, which is 2. And we have to add up like terms. So we add up these, and this equals x squared plus 3x plus 2. And this is our final answer. Now that we know how to FOIL, we can also solve equations like this. And I'll give you a step-by-step walkthrough how to do it. So first of all, we multiply the first term with all of these, and this ends up being x cubed. X times minus 2x is minus 2x squared, and x times plus 5 is positive 5x. And then we end up multiplying this one with everything else, which ends up being 3x squared minus 6x and plus 15. And we have to end up adding the like terms, so it would be minus 2x squared and plus 3x and positive 5x and minus 6x. And so after we end up adding those like terms, we end up with this 3x plus x squared minus x plus 15. And this is the simplified version, and it is also correct. Before we wrap up, some common mistakes to watch out for are forgetting to distribute to every term when using the distributive property or when foiling. The next common mistake is mixing up positive and negative signs when multiplying. And the last mistake is not combining all the like terms you could, which would result in a different answer. Also, a quick tip: when multiplying two binomials, you should have 4 terms before combining like terms. Here's what I mean by the last tip. You can see there's 4 terms right here, right before we add like terms. And this is just like a confirmation that you did the work right when multiplying binomials. And that's all. Multiplying polynomials is easy. You just need to know the rules. If you found this helpful, like, subscribe, and comment down any questions. Thanks for watching, and remember, keep your mind sharp.